Alright, welcome back to Peaceful Vibes. My name is Reese Selassie. We got my brother Nelson L in the building. How you doing today, Nelson L?
Man, we here now, brother.
Right.
You know, I appreciate it.
So Nelson L, he had a few things he wanted to talk about today. He had called me and hit me up. Let everybody know what you wanted to talk about today and the message that you wanted to bring to the people.
Absolutely. I think it's important that we stop just skimming the surface in regard to what's taking place right now. I think at one point in time, when we look outside our windows and we see the things that are taking place in the street, they may have only affected certain groups or denominations of people. But now this is affecting everybody. So because the things that are taking place now are currently affecting everybody as a collective, I think it's time for us to delve a little deeper into some of the causes and the effects of you know, what we're seeing right now, the effects of what we're seeing, basically. And so, like I was telling you the last time we got together, you know, sometimes we just have some organic conversations and they really, a lot of good information is shared. And I said, man, we just need to have a conversation, turn the camera on, do what we normally do organically and let it just happen. So that's kind of really what I wanted to do, is turn this camera on and have a conversation and then almost forget that the camera is there for a second, and then really get into some of the crux and issues that we're facing, and then even talk about some excuse me, some of the solutions.
Okay.
So two things I wanted to talk about, and I'm going to try to get as close to what we had last time, but you know, it's going to be what it's going to be. So two things I want to talk about. I want to talk about the destruction of America. One, we look at any dynasty or diaspora of time, and there was a rise and there was a fall.
Correct. That's
so in ancient Egypt, although you know they had several dynasties, you know, she rose and she fell eventually. When we talk about ancient Greece, you know, Greece rose, Greece fell. We talk about Rome. Some will say Rome never fell, but you know, it's Rome back then rose and fell, you know. And so America, if we are not paying attention, we'll suffer the same fate as some of these other places, right? So a lot of the conversation that I have is not just based on what I think is going to happen. It's me looking at great dynasties at different points in time throughout history. So same way that America is the #1 superpower on the planet, you know, Rome was the #1 superpower on the planet. Egypt was the #1 superpower on the planet. You know, these type of things, and so we really need to just get in there. So I want to talk about that.
What's going to happen.
Yeah, I want to look at a little forecasting, as far as America is concerned. And then the other thing I wanted to demonstrate on was, and make sure that that we got it right.
Well, speaking about the athletes and entertainers.
Well, that's getting ready to fold into it. The one other thing I wanted to talk about is the box, being in the box. You know what I'm saying? And how we get out of the situation that we're in is really getting out of this box that we were placed in. It's almost like in the medical field, the reason why they use the serpent, and it's a good thing, you know, when it goes around the torch, you know, that represents like the kundalini energy going up the spine, right?
Yeah, I know. I can't think of a word for that right now, but yeah, I know what you mean.
Right. Well, the snake. One reason why the snake was used so often, because the snake, seemingly resurrected, it would shed its skin, you know, and it outgrows that old, and then it becomes new again.
Always in a form of change.
Right, and growth. And so we have outgrown the box. Right? The box is old skin, so to speak. We are a new creature, new being, new nation, new everything. So we cannot use the conditions and the thinking of the old and apply it to the conditions and concerns of today. From a biblical standpoint, the Bible would say you can't put new wine into old skin, right? So you gotta get some new skin. We gotta get a new box. I say it's a new era time now, right? So if you was living in the 1800s and I could just somehow magically transfer you to 2020, the mentality, the whatever you got, the way you thinking then, you can't be thinking like that now. It's not gonna work for you. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just that way. And I'm talking about if you're the slave or the slave owner. You can't walk around today thinking and behaving the way people thought and behaved in the 1800s.
I think that kind of goes back to what we was talking about with the whole Black Lives Matter. Of course, from just the idea, you know, you and I, we feel like we matter. We shouldn't have to go out and yell and scream that because everybody, you know, my car matters, you know, because I need to get back and forth to work, you know what I mean?
Right.
So at the end of the day, that's kind of trivial. But I think we were talking about black, with using the word black, saying Black Lives Matter. And, you know, from a historical dictionary definition point of view, black really means kind of nothing or dead,
right,
something like that.
Well, it does mean dead because the word black comes from the Latin word negro.
Right.
Negro comes from the ancient, I guess like
necro.
Yeah, necro, like necrophilia,
right.
Dead, right? Comes from the word necro. I think that came out of Greece, you know, back then. And so it actually does mean dead, right? And so, you know, when you really break it down, it's really no black people that got the power or the financial ability to kick off a global movement, you know. So you really want to contemplate who benefits from pushing ignorance,
because this is keeping you in
falsehood,
that box. This is
right?
keeping you in that box.
Who's funding this?
Like,
you know, we can't barely get enough money to get a school open.
Right.
But somebody's funding a global organization that is, you know, so we got to really wake up. It's common sense time. And I think that's one thing that I did say last time. I think we're coming into an awareness now, which is so heightened and enlightened, and it's great and everything. But I think it just really gets us full circle back to just common sense.
Okay.
You know, when we talk about black and just black and white issues, you feel me? So I guess let's find a place to start. So we're gonna start with let's start with what we talked about. I'm gonna start with the destruction of America, and then we'll go into the box and those things that we were just talking about. The black, white, and the yellow, and the green and blue. These are things that come inside.
Yeah.
So I think I want to start with we can almost call it the rise and fall of America, right? So I won't go into a whole bunch of detail, but I think I can start with a point, or at a point where we can all agree. America was built on the backs of free labor. Free labor provided by a slave class of people. I don't think there'll be too many historians that will want to argue that. You know, I think we all agree on that. So, you know that old saying, what makes you laugh can make you cry, you know, that kind of thing. So, as America is built on the back of the slave, America will either perish or prosper, you know, whichever way that the slave goes. It's
kind of like
how it's built on, right?
What they say, so what made you can break you.
Right, right. So, and you know, they used to say, man, you gotta dance with the one that brung you. So we got you here, and you need to dance with us.
Right.
You feel me? We need to have this conversation. So what I'm saying is, we know how we got here, and if not, we can dig into that. But I think most of us have a pretty good idea how we got to the point to where we are in 2020. So I won't do a whole lot of building up on how we got here, but I do want to talk a little bit about how we are going to lose everything. So America has an issue that she has not addressed, and it's not any, you know, it's not no secret, I don't think, that there's a conversation that needs to be had in regard to how we're going to treat, what we're going to do, you know, which way are we going with the people that physically built this country. And if America doesn't get it right, and I guess I'll just put a label on it, white supremacy and systemic racism. Systemic, it means a system of racism designed to keep a certain people in a certain position. And unfortunately, for some, it's designed, if you're on the bottom, it's designed to keep you on the bottom. If you're on the top, it's designed to keep you in a position of power so you can stay on top. So, this is what I think is going to happen. If America does not address its race issues and problems with white supremacy, which is basically terrorism, domestic terrorism, then America is going to implode on itself, and it's no longer going to be the #1 superpower nation on the planet. What's going to happen is this, and we were talking about these athletes. So I think it's going to start off with our athletes and our entertainers. These are the ones that influence the collective consciousness, and these are the ones that have the financial resources to say and do more than, say, the average person can do, right? The guy that is an NFL football player probably has a little more power or position in regard to platform than the little guy that works at McDonald's. And so it's going to start with our athletes, it's going to start with our entertainers. So this is how I see it happening. Somebody's going to lose their life, somebody's going to get killed at the hands of police brutality. That's going to happen again. It's inevitable. It's been happening, and it's going to happen again. It's going to be brutal. It's going to be on tape. It's going to be undeniable. It's going to be everything that you don't want to see, right? You're going to see that in your face. And that will act as the straw that broke the camel's back. I don't know how many more people have to die or lose their life, but one of them is going to be the last one. And I think we're probably pretty close to that now. What will happen is these franchise athletes, LeBron James, Bron's a little bit older now, so he might got a few years, but it's going to be some of these young ones. Zion. It's going to be the stars of our future are going to recognize that they have not only a platform, but they have a certain amount of power and influence that goes with this position. And they're going to say, I'm not playing, If you keep killing, you kill my uncle. Who are these people? Who do you think you're killing when you kill these people? You are killing uncles, brothers, cousins, to the athletes. You know what I'm saying? So, and I think even now, we got a narrative out there now that it doesn't even have to be, related to you necessarily. So what's going to happen is they're going to stop playing basketball, football, baseball, all these top dollar sports positions. You're going to see some soccer athletes going to stop playing, a few tennis, top tennis. And it's not just going to be Asiatic or melanated people. It's going to be those people, of course, but then it's also going to be the well-wishers, the sympathizers, the ones who agree, which that's going to be another another big swash of people that the system, the way it's set up now, cannot afford to lose their input, right? So once the professional athletes stop participating, I believe you're going to see the high school kids stop participating. If your favorite athlete isn't playing, then you're probably not going to play either. Right. Without the participation of high school athletics or young people participating in high school athletics, then you're not going to have the college athletics. And the kids that are in college are going to stop playing, but you're messing up the future college kids as well, or kids that could participate on a D1 collegiate level.
No March Madness, you have no tournament,
right?
Final Four,
right?
All of that.
So as we paint this picture from professional to high school to college, you're talking about billions upon billions upon billions of dollars.
Right.
That has just been cut off. Because if they're not playing, nobody's coming to the stadium, nobody's buying beer, nobody's buying jerseys, nobody's, all of this is being affected. The network, ESPN is a network dedicated to sports.
Like you were saying, the country was kind of built on free labor or slave labor,
right,
by a particular class of people, and now this class of people is, they're the ones that run this form of entertainment. When you talk about sports, it's the same class of people that was built, on the backs of through slavery. These are the people that are you know, their children are out there playing football.
Right.
They're the ones out there playing basketball. They're the ones out here leading these sports organizations. So that's why the NCAA is where it's at, in the NBA, the NFL.
Right. So you have whole universities that recruit college students that come and pay hundreds of thousands of dollars a year because of the notoriety that school has gained due to the sports program. I only want to go to North Carolina and be a Tar Heel because I know Michael Jordan went to this school. I only want to go to Kansas because I know that Will Chamberlain, Danny Manning, Paul Pierce, I mean, you know, they all went to this particular university.
Right.
So not only does I know we cut that out. Not only does the colleges bring in money through the endorsements that they get during the March Madness and the giant sports companies, they also have Las Vegas and ESPN. And to me, when I say Las Vegas and ESPN, I mean you have Las Vegas is a town almost primarily built on sports gambling. So ESPN is a network devoted entirely to sports. Las Vegas is a town basically set up, you know, to gamble, but I'm sure a great percentage of gambling is done on sports, whatever that may be, whatever particular sport that is. So combined, all the sports betting, I'm sure, makes up for a large percentage of the money that Las Vegas is able to bring in, whether it be boxing, MMA, fighting, or whatever. Because I'm talking about athletes in general that are melanated and those who agree with the struggle, so to speak. So you're talking about millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars that are going to be unaccounted for if these guys do not, and girls, women, do not participate in sports. Now, as I'm sure you probably know, each one of us in America who was born with a birth certificate and a social security number, you know, we represent a piece of stock inside of the corporation of America. Right, so I think, you know, cat's out the bag, it ain't no big secret now, and this is not no conspiracy theorist stuff. America is a corporation or a business.
The United
States of America is a corporation designed to do business. I have a for-profit. This is not a non-profit corporation. This corporation is designed to do what every other corporation does, and that's make money, right? And so the people of the United States of America are leveraged as stock, so America can have credit and people will invest in us, right? So if the stock is solid and strong, you got many investors and you're able to raise the price for the share. Each one of you and I, we represent a share. When we are born, we have a potential earning, and if we reach our potential, then we make America, just by living, just by going to work every day, you make them X amount of dollars.
Because I think we were speaking about a meeting that happened in Havana, Cuba back in like, was the 1920s or something like that?
Right. 1920, 28, 29. Well, there was a meeting of the United Nations in Havana, Cuba. And Prophet Noble Drew Ali, he went there, but his name was Sharif Abdul. It was under a different name because he had just came back out of Egypt, where he received, you know, if you're familiar with that custom, when you go over there, they give you a new name. So you might come back, I might come back with my, you know, what they might call your holy name. I wanted to lay this down real quick. We all represent almost like collateral for credit or a stock inside of a corporation that's, you know, that's growing, you know. And so what happens is when the money gets funny, and this is what I'm talking about with the athletes, if they stop playing and that type of money was not being circulated inside of the economy, that much money, it would destabilize the stock portfolio, if you will. the market would become volatile.
Right.
When the market becomes volatile, investors tend to pull their money out. Right. Now, this is when I wanted to get to I believe it was like the Pan Am conference. But what we'll do is this, because I understand that if you say something wrong, then they're going to say everything is wrong.
Right.
So what we'll say is there was a meeting of the nations in Havana, Cuba. And I believe it was in 1928.
We'll just say the late 1920s.
Right, late 1920s, to be as correct as possible. There was some information that was disseminated at the conference. Whatever the information was, it was such that it made European investors lose interest. Just like banks, you lose your interest, right? They lost interest in doing business or putting their money into the corporation known as the United States of America. I believe, and this is just me, that there was some information that said, you got a good business here. This is a good business model. I like it. It's set up right. I see where the money's coming from. There's only a problem. Your business, your corporation is built on some stolen land, or it's built on some land that you don't rightfully own. And if you don't own that land, eventually you're going to have to pay the landlord some rent. And if you have to do that, we don't know how that thing is going to work out. We're just like on Shark Tank. We're going to pass on that for right now as an investment. And what happened is in 1929, after European financial interests pulled their resources out of the stock market crashed. That's what happened. It crashed in 1929. We spiraled for a few years, especially as a new nation, trying to find resources. And there was some very crafty people there. Don't get me wrong, that were behind the veil, that were pulling levers and pushing buttons. America in 1933 files bankruptcy. Stock market crashes in 29 and 33. We filed bankruptcy. The only reason, in my mind, someone would file bankruptcy is because you owe somebody else something. Right. You owe some money, you owe some property, you owe something that you can't pay back. So what do? You file bankruptcy. And that's what the United States of America did as a corporation. They filed bankruptcy. They said, we can't pay you back. They restructured the corporation, how it pays out, the taxes, everything, and turned over the financial, I don't want to say peace. They turned over the financial, the ability to run America's financial responsibilities over to what we know as the Federal Reserve,
right,
which is actually no more a federal government service or part of the government. It's no more federal than Federal Express. You know, just in name only. It's a private corporation that regulates the economy of the United States of America. It's a big banking system, and they control what the value of the dollar is going to be this year or that year, or if we're in a recession or we got this. They're controlling everything. But this is as a result. Somebody said, I'd rather for this Federal Reserve to be able to manipulate our dollar and do what they do than to pay, get this other thing right, which you could probably just cashed it out, got it right, and continue doing business like most small businesses do when they run into a little situation. They got to get an attorney, pay some money, then you can continue doing business. Well, America chose not to do that. So we know what happened. And the reason why I reference that is because we're looking backwards, but we're also looking forward. We're looking at the past so we can kind of foresee what's going to come in the future. So when I look at that and say, okay, there was a big conference of the United Nations. The United Nations is still all around. It entailed the stock market and European investors. Okay, stock market's still here. European investors are still pumping in heck of cash heck of cash to keep the thing the way that it is. The reason why so much money is spent to keep you out of the know is to keep the investment strong. When you say, man, they really put a whole bunch of money into prison systems and jails and things that, we got private financial backers who are pumping money. Do you know how much money is spent to keep you ignorant? You know, so they are protecting their investment, right? So once the ball players stop playing ball, the money stops flowing. Yeah, there'll be other different economic things out there, but sports bleeds into entertainment. Every artist wants to be an athlete. Every athlete wants to be an artist. Well, soon as the athletes start acting up, the poets, the rappers, the comics, they're going to start talking about the guys not playing basketball. Now the information keeps getting out here. Now all of a sudden Jay-Z don't want to rap no more. Kendrick's not rapping no more. J. Cole's not doing no concerts unless it's for the hood.
Well, let me ask you this. You said that you know, a lot of money is spent on keeping you ignorant, which is a true fact. But I think I asked this question when we had the initial conversation. You know, these athletes and entertainers, they don't run their own. They don't have control of their own industry.
Right.
So, you know, the mere fact of them, you know, taking that control and doing what they're doing by not performing, by not playing, and not showing up, that's directly affecting the people that are spending the money on keeping you ignorant, because they use the athletes and the entertainers to keep you ignorant, right, to a certain extent. And then they're the ones that are investing in these private prisons. They're the ones that are investing in these you know, global banks and these institutions around the world to keep people in a certain class. So, right, you know, what I'm saying is, you know, by these people taking power by not performing, they're directly affecting the same people that are spending the money, these billions of dollars, on keeping you and I ignorant.
Right. And there's going to be, you're going to get some people out there that's going to argue. That's why you see Michael Jackson dying at 50 years old and Prince dying at such a young man, is because they were in the way of the narrative being directed by these big, right, conglomerates that was controlling music. And when you got a guy like Michael Jackson that owns the Beatles catalog and owns, you know, everything, pretty much the history of rock and roll, almost, you know, and it might behoove you to make a move in regard to getting control of that. And so, same thing with Prince's catalog. Right. You know, a lot of the music that he had, I'm sure, well, I was told he had hundreds of songs that the world had never heard. And so somebody had an interest at getting into that vault. Right. However, you got your athletes, now you got your entertainers. Entertainers are pitching in resources and money and platform and doing whatever they can do. It might not be not playing, it might be only playing or performing for certain reasons, or performing and giving all of the door to a cause, or you're gonna start to see that. Right. And once you start seeing that, you're gonna see the breakdown, the disintegration of America. In the Biblios, or the Bible, it says that a desolated house cannot stand. So a house divided. And at this point, I believe it can be corrected. America doesn't have to divide. It does not, and that's the good news. That's the gospel. It doesn't, her fate doesn't have to be total destruction and desolation. It does not have to happen. However, it will happen as long as we continue to go in the direction, at the pace that we're heading now.
With the same way of thinking that brought us to this point.
It's
like
inevitable.
you were talking about that box.
Right.
You know, as long as you stay in that same,
right,
conformity.
And that brings us to the box, right? So what happens is America treats a certain class of people horribly. But what they do is they make that class a servant class. So when you make anybody your servant, you really give them the power. Okay, you gonna run this house. If you clean the house and cook the food and take out the trash and all of that stuff, right? You can make your absence felt just the same way you can make your presence felt. My dad used to always say, make your absence felt. So we're going to do a good job right now, because when I'm gone, you're going to really know what you missed, you know. And so the power has been put back in the hands of the people. We got more power just sitting down, and that's how it's going to end up flooding into the people than we got getting up every day and going to work. We got more power. Dr. Martin Luther King showed you that in Memphis, Tennessee. He basically said, you know what? Y'all don't want to act right. We're not taking out the trash. And Memphis turned into a cesspool of stinky garbage piles of trash piled up 6 feet, 8 feet, 10 feet tall sometimes. They dang near shut the city down. Now, can you imagine with the things that are going on today? I don't know what we can say on that.
Yeah.
We can say that, right? With a pandemic going on. If brother said, I'm not taking no more trash out, do you know the impact, how fast disease would spread and pestilence would happen? That's power right there. You give me what I want, or I'm going to not take out the trash. So much power.
People just don't realize.
You just don't know what you have. Right. Just sitting down. You can say, listen, right now, here's our list of demands for 2021. We're still going to do everything right now, but on New Year's Day. Matter of fact, we got an election this year. You don't put in who we want, and we might want, I don't know. Nah, I dare not say that. We might want somebody. We can have that.
Yeah, but we can have who we feel like is the best person.
We got all the power because everything has been put on us. So if we don't perform, then the car don't run.
Right, the gas.
So that brings me to gas. That brings me to your European investors and European interests. Who's going to invest in a car that's not running? Who's going to invest in a broken down vehicle? Nobody.
Somebody actually put some gas in it, but their car don't run now.
You're not going to get it.
You're in the driveway.
America's not going to get support from nowhere else in the world. In fact, they're going to get the opposite of support. Because as soon as we stand up, and you're going to see these other nations start standing up in support of that. Remember, you're not just dealing with these 45 million individuals who are the descendants of the slaves here in the continental United States. You're dealing with almost 50 million people. We're larger than, okay, let's look at it like this. Israel, the one that was established in 1948, that's in Palestine right now. I think I don't know, bro. I have to look on this. I don't want to mess myself up. I would ask my phone. I think that they got like less than 20 million people.
Okay.
Right? Less than 20. They got their own military. They got their own government. They got their own infrastructure.
We know
they got their own constitution.
We know it's not bigger than the state of Texas.
Right.
We can say that.
Let's say it that way. And I'm really, because see, I know how the Moors are. So, you know, me as Nelson and being a Moor, if you don't quote everything exactly right, they're going to get you. Mo, why didn't you say that? So I don't want to speak in those. I just want to paint the picture. The state of Israel is not larger than the state of Texas, right? There's 50 million Asiatics, what some would call black people, or descendants of people who pick cotton in the South right now in America. That 50 million people basically cash out, everybody else cashed out on them already, got paid, right? So all we got to do is say, this is what we're going to do. Everybody knows our story, right? And if you don't assist us, you're just a hater. And you will be exposed as a hater. It's almost like right now with the LGBTQ community, you can't publicly call out somebody negatively in a negative light, a homosexual or a gay person, and not get some backlash. This is what Dave Chappelle was talking about, right? Because the climate is sensitive to that. Well, the same thing is happening now with this Black Lives Matter, right? The climate, the culture has become sensitive to that.
Right.
So you're not going to be able to just kind of push it off anymore and say, this and that. If you don't address it, then you are going to be looked on as a hater. Why did France give America the Statue of Liberty? Well, liberty means freedom. So after the slave trade, they wanted to say congratulations for denouncing slavery, getting rid of the slaves, and pretty much coming on into the free world with the rest of civilization. Right? That's what they wanted to say. The image got changed and stuff, but what I want you to keep in mind is France, another nation, is watching what's going on in America and dealing with America as another nation. Right. So once we stand up, the sympathizers and well-wishers here, not only in America, but all around the entire globe, they know the story. Right. They know the Underground Railroad. They know Harriet Tubman. They know the 400 years. They know the raping, the beating, the lynching, the castration. They know all the horrible stories about gator babies and every wicked, evil thing you can hear, have heard of. Like my mother used to say, whatever's done in the dark will eventually come to the light. Well, it's global information now. We got the internet.
And I think one thing that's important and incumbent upon the people is to also become responsible and self-sufficient, because if this system does fall, like the brother Nelson L is saying right here, we have to be in a position where we can, can we run the Supreme Court? Can we stock warehouses and get food from one side of the country to the other? And because if not, then you just asking for somebody to. You're asking for one daddy to move out of the house and another daddy to
you're asking to be able. You asking to speak a new language.
Right. Oh, he ain't your daddy no more now. You about to have a about to have a Chinese daddy move up.
Yeah, we all gonna speak Mandarin now.
That's what's gonna happen. What's for dinner tonight, and
Right.
So what we
no more silverware. We're using these things for
right. So we
utensils.
have to be in a position where we can also govern ourselves, because if not, whenever this thing happens, you almost ask for somebody else to replace the oppressor that you currently have.
Right.
If this is what's going on.
Which we can do that. Prophet Noble Drew Ali said that he was going to leave the European in place long enough for us to learn how to run a nation. Which I think that we have done that. I think Barack Obama is evidence of Asiatics understanding politics and political science and knowing how to run a nation. We have judges, we have mayors, we have district attorneys, we have city councilmen. Good friend of mine, Brother Brandon Ellington, 3rd District City Councilman for Kansas City, Missouri. So it's like we're in these positions now. So we know how to run a country now. Right. We know how the government works, we know how law enforcement works, we know how hospitals run. The information and knowledge is there. We here now. That's why I say the time has come. So this is now the fork in the road, the proverbial turning point for America. What you gonna do? Because you can either ride or die.
That's true.
And that's what's gonna happen. You either gonna ride or you gonna die. And is your hatred so much that you would be willing to destroy yourself rather than to see someone else come up out of the grave, proverbial grave pit, and stand up erect and be able to provide their own food, clothing, and shelter, and take care of their own self, and have an economy, and have a community, and all that other stuff that everybody else has, have a nationality. I think a lot of us don't realize that because of the lack of nationality, we are murdered, killed, and abused.
That's why we see a lot of the same things happen that happened, years and years ago.
Absolutely.
Because we were the same box that we was in, going by the same, governed by the same rules.
You don't ever see no Chinese men getting tased, killed, murdered in the streets. How many Koreans do you see getting treated like that? How many? You don't see it, because if that were to happen, America would eventually have to answer to the Chinese government or the nation of China. If they were killing Chinese people like that, not only would you have to answer to the nation of China, you would have to answer to the United Nations, all the other nations, and tell everybody on planet why you're doing this.
That's true. That's true.
And if that's, no matter if you want to kill some Italian people like they do to Asiatics and melanated folks here, if it's going to be Irish, Scottish, German, Canadian. Can you imagine if the police were killing Canadians in the street like they killing brothers? Canada ain't did for America what we done.
I think that's also something that a lot of people don't really understand. Is, you know, on a global level, when you have people from, you know, other countries, you might have someone from Senegal, Nigeria, or the UK, and you know, they look at or even, you know, someone that has a nationality, and they look at people like us, and they feel like that, you know, I know they can relate based on, you know, the skin tone, but when things like this happen, things like this are happening to us, and predominantly us, you know, in the United States, what you call black people, is because we don't identify with a nationality. Because you rarely see someone from Egypt or Ethiopia or South Africa or, you know, all these different countries get persecuted in the same manner, in the same way that you see. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen. Of course, there's an exception to every rule. But these people have a nationality. They have a home country that they can always, you know, ambassadors there that speak on their behalf. But when it comes to terms of black people, we have Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, and people like that. Not to disrespect these good men, but we don't have a black a country or nationality or creed or army, to say the least, that's going to back us up.
Well, I think it boils down to nationality, point blank, period. Nationality or lack thereof has been used to our detriment since slavery began in the Americas. When you go back and you look at when black and white people first walked on the planet,
when was this?
It was in the 1600s, right?
Okay.
And so prior to
when that term was invented,
right?
This is when people like us.
So we gotta shift the mindset, right? So when you open up the Bible, I always say there's no black people in the Bible. There's no white people in the Bible. Red, yellow, or green people in the Bible. Every person in the Bible is associated with a nation of people. So if you're looking for Jesus, you can say Jesus of Nazareth.
Right, the Nazarene.
He's a Nazarene. That associates him with a group of people in a specific geographical swatch of land.
Not Jesus the Philistine.
Nah, not Jesus the Nazarene. I mean the other guy, the Philistine. All, you know, I'm about to run off into some other stuff. But anyway, yes. And so everybody, I don't care if you're King Solomon, if you're David, if you're Mark, Luke, or John, you are going to be associated with a nation of people. Whether it's Greek, whether it's the Romans, whether whoever it is. Right. You are going to be identified according to that nation. Now, the people from this nation or this nation might have all been the same here. We know King Solomon says, I am handsome and comely, or comely, dark and comely. The word comely means handsome.
Right.
And he says he's dark and handsome. This is King Solomon talking. So Solomon is part of a genealogy or a bloodline that has to come from some melanated source. But he don't call himself black. He calls himself what other nation he comes from. This is why you have to dispel the narrative of black people selling black people. You always get this whole thing, well, black people sold other black people, right? Think about it like this. We're all on the same continent together. You speak one language, this other people speak another language. You got one flag, they got another flag, you got one guy, they got it. Just think about it. The Irish didn't necessarily get along with the Scottish. But you don't say, well, white people were selling white people. No, the Scottish was into it with the Irish. That's all to it. And the Scottish beat up the Irish, or the Irish beat up the Scottish.
Because the Irish were considered the N-word of Europe.
Of Europe at that time.
Right.
And so you dealing with a continent that has 52 nations. They warn the Zulus, they might not like the Mandingo. The Mandingo might not really care for the Ashanti. The way that the narrative is displayed now is that these dudes was all, you know, cool with one another, and then just start selling each other.
We all black. That's everybody in this country.
Right.
First of all, Africa's not a country.
Right.
So they kind of make you think over here. This is just kind of like how the American, what you call African Americans, get brainwashed. We all kind of came up thinking that Africa's just this one big place that's all unified, and everybody there is under this banner called black. and it's just all one place that everybody kind of just proverbially gets along to a certain extent.
Right. So you have different groups, different religions, different backgrounds, different cultures clashing, coming together, bartering, trading, doing all kind of stuff. So although everybody might have been melanated, that doesn't mean that everybody got along and it's the same thing. The same way, if you talk about the Choctaw, the Sioux, the Cherokee, the Blackfoot, they fought and battled. Battled each other too.
They all identified each other by their nation as well.
And the same in Europe. Everybody had a nation. Right. Come over here into the Americas. Everybody got a nation. They might have called the planet the Turtle Island or whatever, but they all belong to a nation. You go over to the continent of Africa. They all got a nation. And then we get to the 1600s. And the 1600s say, we're stripping you pretty much of nationality. Once you are stripped of nationality, you're almost taken out of the human family. Now the argument can be made, are you even human? You're only 3/5 of a man. Now because you're not human, you can become property.
So they created a color caste system at this point.
A color caste system. And how do you begin to demoralize people and beat people and justify raping and murder and all of that? You dehumanize that person, those people. So they become black, Negro, colored, spook, shine, porch monkey, savages,
darky,
whatever the negative connotation may be. If I want to treat you like a savage, savagely, then first I'll keep putting it out there that you're a savage.
And I also have
over
to change,
and over.
I also have to change the name, just like, when you have different wars, like Vietnam, they changed the name of the enemy, Charlie, or they would have certain racial, epithets.
You dehumanize.
Right. So when you're shooting and killing this person, you don't look at that as a man with a family or, a human being.
So, in 1779 to 1865 is when those names were put on slaves, right? Now we're getting into the box. Slavery ended, at least on paper, in 1865.
Right.
If slavery ended in 1865, the names that delude to slavery, the names that have the negative connotations from slavery, should have ended in 1865. Why are you still calling yourself black?
That's like someone being a prisoner, then they get released from prison, and everyone still calls them by the number that they had.
You still 5'8", 9'6", 8". That's when
you got released 15 years ago.
And you got released 150 years ago. But you still are identifying yourself by your prison number.
So are you really released?
Right. So it's a mental thing, right? There's a mental chain still on the mind of someone who calls himself colored. I think even people who consider themselves black, if you go and say, hey, Negro, hey, colored man or something, they're going to be weirded out. Like, I'm not that. But you just traded that for the modern terminology of whatever that negative name meant. I used to always say to people, think about it. Colored, okay, so you say you're a colored man, okay, as opposed to who? What? A non-colored person? If that's the case, then you are looking at yourself through the lens of your oppressor.
Right. And even
because you wouldn't look at yourself as colored.
You wouldn't.
Colored differently from my mom or my dad, not colored. I look exactly like everybody in my family. It only becomes negative when you see yourself through someone else's lens. And so these names and all these names have meanings were put on us. So we go to the word black, coming from Spanish, negro, coming from the Greek, necro, meaning dead. You have a dead people. That's all you're saying. I'm a dead people, have no nation, no flag, no land, no genealogy, which means no line tying you to the family.
Right.
When I'm talking about the family, I mean the human family. And so now, as being excommunicated from the family, you can be treated as a second-class citizen and given privileges and some liberties, but no real freedom. See, the Emancipation Proclamation meant to emancipate. The word emancipation doesn't necessarily mean freedom, right? To emancipate could mean to transfer property from this entity over into the state. So if you are a child and you're a juvenile and you are emancipated, now the state can treat you just like an adult. Do whatever they want to do with you. You can go to the big prison. You can go to the hole. You can get beat up. You can everything. Now you're only 15 now, but you've been emancipated.
So that's almost making a whole group of people the ward of the state.
They switched the slavery over to the prison industrial complex, because then you have, you know, a number of years of Jim Crow, which are some laws that were basically said, if you jaywalk, you got 10 years in prison. If you don't have a job, you can go to prison. If you're loitering, you can go to prison. If you know, anything, any little thing. So they just transferred it over from one entity to the other. So what I'm saying is, a box was being created. This is where you're going to fit in. This is how you're going to benefit society. This is who you are, and this is what you can know. And this isn't even what you are to think about yourself. In order to change your condition, you have to get out that box. You can't be in the box and change the conditions. Right? And look at it from this perspective as well. Whoever made the box is not in the box. They make the box. That's where they know what the bottom and the outside look like. They know how the top goes down, how it latches closed. They can put a lock on it, whatever. But they're not in it because they are the creator or the producer of the box. If you are not producing your own box, if you're not making your own box, your own parameters in which you will conduct and live your life, then you are in the box of someone else.
Right, and that just goes back to you creating your own reality and defining yourself, and not being defined by someone else, allowing someone else to put their own label and definition on you, because by them doing that, that goes back to the box. That's put you in their box, and that way they can do and treat you how they want, because you're going by the definition and the parameters that they set for you.
Right. So this is how the box and the destruction of America, this is the crossroads of those, right? As the box deteriorates, people wake up, people come into consciousness, knowledge of self, then everything that was created, that they put in the box, is no longer, it has no more relevance, right? So what we're seeing now is people are starting to wake up. Information is more readily available for people to do research, to find out answers to questions that they may not be 100% in fact on, or at least have little knowledge. You can find more knowledge out about it. So as we start to wake up and we become enlightened, I think it gives more understanding to the reason why the master didn't want the slave to know how to read or write or do any of that, because then you become harder to contain and control, right? You're thinking for yourself now. I used to always say, if you're not thinking for yourself, someone else is thinking for you. And if they're thinking for you, they probably don't have your best interest at heart. They most likely have their own best interest at heart. So you don't want anybody to be thinking for you, because you're going to become a slave to their interests, oftentimes. So this is what happened. A box was created. It started in the 1600s. If you're familiar with Willie Lynch, then you know there was a system that was created that said this will hold you for 300 to 400 years, and this system basically consists of divide and conquer.
And white is a part of this system as well.
A big part.
It's not just black people in this box. There's a box. Everybody's in this box because, everybody has to go by a certain, when you're running a play, when there's a stage play, everybody has to know their lines, and everybody has to follow their lines, and timing is a big part of it, because if you're off, then the whole play is off. So everybody has a role to play, and in this box, we all playing our roles to keep this matrix and this false system going. You know, and it's just it's a false stage play where we're all playing a role in the play to keep it going.
Man, I'm so happy you said that, because you know, I push you're not black so much. At the same time, the reality is there's no white people either.
Right.
So thank you for saying that. There's no white people. There's Italians and Jews and Germans and Scottish and English and Dutch and you know,
Russian,
all of that. But there are no white people. And so as that Willie Lynch, and that's kind of what I was getting to, as that starts to break down, they said the first slaves basically got to the Americas in 1619. Well, from 1619 to 2019 is 400 years. I won't talk about the 1500s.
Right.
I'm not going to talk about 1492. You know, we can keep going back. But we'll just say from 16, let's just start at 1619.
Right.
You know what I mean? That 400 years that passed. They said this system will hold you for about 300 to 400 years. The time is up. The time is up. If you are familiar with biblical prophecy, the time is up on all of the Mayan calendars.
I actually was looking at something that was in what we was thinking was 2012.
Right, that's where I was going.
Around now, because you know, the Gregorian calendar was created, and that is a fictional calendar that we all go by with the 12 months. But that's why you have months like October in the 10th month of the year, when Octo is really a word that means 8, when October should be the 8th month of the year. So this calendar has us all the way up here to 2020, when really the end of this age, 2012 or whatnot, might be right around what you're seeing right now.
Right. And the reason why Jesus is so significant, and you see him spoken about in Islam, you hear his name being mentioned in Christianity, obviously. You hear his name in Judaism. You hear his name in all these major religions because of the demarcation of time. That's what it's all about. When Jesus died, you know, according to the scriptures, Christian scriptures in the Bible, when he died, they started counting time over.
Right.
That's the reason.
BC, AD.
That's the reason why you can say, how long ago was Jesus on this planet? And the answer you're going to get, Jesus lived about 2,000 years ago. Well, what year is it now? 2020? Okay, so from 2020 back 2,000 years ago is being demarcated by Jesus himself, or the story of, or whatever you want to call it, the mythology of Jesus. So this is why it's important. If you believe in him or not, if you look at your watch and you tell time, or you write your name on the calendar and date it, you're acknowledging something.
And no matter how you feel about mythology, if you look at Christianity as you know, what you live by in your faith, or if you just look at it as another story like Zeus and Hercules and whatnot, you know, every mythological story was created for a purpose. It was created to tell a story, not just a bedtime story, but to tell a story that relates to the human condition.
That's right. You know? And it makes you think, if they started time over then, how many times has time been started over? Imagine if you're a good guy. Say I'm the best rapper ever, right? And everybody just loves me. And then I change planes. And whoever's in power says, we're just going to start counting time over again. Because Nelson Neal died, so tomorrow is day 1.
Right.
Well, what does that mean for everything that has happened prior to my passing? Does it just not exist? Did it just not ever happen? No, what it means is time is an illusion, it's a construct, and whoever's in control gets to control the time.
Right.
So we have to delve so deep down inside of ourselves, spiritually, until we start to control time again. We have to take this back. What do I mean this back? The consciousness. Your reality, and you have to admit it, and I have to admit it, is solely based on somebody else's ideas and concepts of time, of reality, of right and wrong, of day and night, everything.
All of that. Yeah.
I used to always say, do you believe someone could convince you day was night and night was day? Then I would tell this story about you walk outside at 12 o'clock a.m. representing the morning, the day, the break of day, the time we get up and go to work. Well, that's the actual darkest hour of the night. That's when it's the darkest hour, midnight. But they tell you it means morning, or AM is associated with morning, PM is associated with night, or just like evening time.
Our new year, the new year season that we have, everything is dead. There's no leaves on the tree.
Right.
Is it really a new year, or the new year is actually when things come back anew?
Ask
you
yourself,
have new leaves and new blossoms.
When did you go from, we are all reading the Bible. The Bible talks about in the beginning. And it tells when God's making day 1 and day 2 and day 3, and then on the 6th day he creates a man. Well, when you go and you look at that and you read that story, it said he separated the light from the dark. And basically, I'm just paraphrasing, basically when the sun comes up till the sun goes down, that's a day, right? But now we're starting our day in the middle of the night. Your day now starts at midnight. So when did your day, one day, go from sun up to sundown over into 12 a.m. represents the break of a new day, which is midnight.
Right.
But then with today's thinking, you're going to go back and try to interpret ancient scriptures, like how many days was Jesus in the grave?
Right.
For 3 days.
If you can't even get the concept
how you know what a day is?
Of a day right, how can you get the concept of high spiritual science?
So we have to go back and reboot, reconnect, regenerate our own mind, our own thinking based on, like what I was saying, common sense. That breaks this box. By breaking the box, you break in the locks. By breaking the locks, you're freeing yourself. That's what happens if you're in prison and a lock is broken on the prison gate. By breaking the box, you break the locks. By breaking the lock, you free yourself. This is simple as that. And so once, we're able to do that, because they got those locks on us mentally right now. However, we're coming out of it. We're waking up. We're starting to understand. And I think once we really get into this, you're going to see that thing that you thought was here to help you was really the lulling you back to sleep that they were hoping was going to happen.
Talking about Black Lives Matter. That's one of the last haymakers that they had.
Well, they've been doing it, so this is not nothing new. Do you think that the NAACP is run by a bunch of brothers somewhere that has your best interests at heart? No, it's not. The National Association for the Advancement of Colored People is not funded and ran. I'm going to tell you it's a non-profit organization, but there's some big giant money behind it that gave it a global presence that none of them people had melanin.
I just found out that Spelman, the HBCU, is actually a European, or what you think is a...
Right. Do you think the United Negro College Fund was run by a bunch of brothers? It's somebody saying, take this money and accept your title.
Right. Because you accepting this, you automatically accept.
I'm a Negro, give me the money.
Thank you for the money so I can go to college now.
Right. But as long as you identify to terms that delude to slavery, you can't get your real money. Right?
That's the crumb. They're giving you some crumbs.
Crumbs. Do you know why most people are able to get big bank loans to start businesses? It's because they're part of a nation.
I watched the
You
brother.
can't deny one nation.
He used a metaphor, and he said they kind of proverbially have us fighting over the mailbox. We fighting over who owns and can we get control of the mailbox when it's a whole house back there,
Right.
waiting. You know what I'm saying? But we sit here fighting over
fully loaded, food, jewelry,
furniture, all
furniture,
that, you know
everything.
what I mean? But we fighting over the mailbox, and we just want to just have a mailbox of our own where we can put our name on the side when we got a whole home.
Right. Well, what we're trying to do now, and the other thing is, you know, is my freedom cannot be compromised. We're not going to sit down at the table and talk about how you going to treat me.
Right.
Right? So Malcolm X said, if a guy sticks a knife in your back 9 inches and he pulls it out 2 inches or 3 inches, you know what I'm saying? That don't mean he's helping me.
You're not helping me.
You're not helping me. You know, in fact, you could be hurting me because I'm going to bleed out now. Right?
But so, you're giving the image that I'm helping.
I'm giving this image, right?
I ain't even poking him all the way no more.
Right, right. I'm actually taking the knife out, no matter jamming it again.
Up, so
right. So it's like, to me, and you know, like I said, we're just gonna talk how we normally be talking, bro. I'm just gonna tell you the truth. I look at it like this: Democrats and Republicans, they are both different wings on the same bird, right?
Two sides of the same
so
coin.
if you are being a part of a process that oppresses you, you part of the problem, right? What has to happen? And I'm not saying we shouldn't take our seat at the table and vote and all of that stuff, but you got to, if you're gonna vote, make the vote count for something.
Right.
Right? Don't use the vote to better position your enemy or the people that are oppressing you. Right. You're gonna do that.
You might have to grease some palms like they do.
Listen, we might have to put our own person in and do what we do. My whole thing is we don't even have to get real political. You know, abstinence is abstaining is part of the political process as well. Right. People think, you know, you got to vote. If you don't vote, you're not part of the process. No, you can abstain. I'm not with none of this stuff. That's what abstaining means. This side wants to shoot me with a gun. This side wants to stab me with a knife. And you asking me to vote which side do I want to get stabbed or shot?
Right.
No, I don't want none of that stuff. Do you want to be a house Negro or do you want to be the field Negro? You get to make a choice. Well, I really, really want to be the house Negro. They eat better. It's not so hot in there. And you get to, no, I don't want to be neither one. Don't give me the illusion of choice. I don't want nothing that you have to offer. We're not compromising, voting, sitting down, nothing, pumping my fist, walking, marching, not doing nothing for my freedom. I'm born with this. This is what we have to understand. This is why I say if you sit down, you got more power just sitting at home, chilling, watching cable.
You see, they risked everybody's life over a pandemic because everybody was sitting at home. They said, we're willing to risk your own. We got to open up these stores. We got to open up these shops. We got to open up these malls, you know, and places like that because the economy is getting affected so much. So even the fact that it's a potential threat, biological, human, whatever you want to call the pandemic, you know, it's out there. We're going to open up the doors and let people get back in here. Just put a cloth mask over your face and get back in here and spend some money.
Right.
So if they're willing to risk that, you gotta understand they willing to go to some extremes.
Right. Well, they gotta reset the clock.
Right.
See, we're at the age touch of time right now. There's a revolution that comes by in cycle ages. So you have an industrial revolution, you have a technological revolution, you have a spiritual revolution that's taking place right now. And so at every revolution, you gotta either reset the clock for control, or it's going to be big war, lots of murder. We're going to shut it down, then we're going to start over again from zero.
Right.
You know, it's a meltdown or something's got to happen. So we're at the age touch of time. We're at that time now. When I say time, I'm not saying the world's going tomorrow, but I'm saying we are in the window. And I'm also saying, as far as the planet is concerned, ain't nothing going nowhere. You know, when you look at Scripture, Scripture says the meek shall inherit the earth. Well, who's been the meek this whole time? Who's been humble? Probably one getting beat up. Probably one going, yes, master, yes, master. That's been the meek. So the world has to be turned over, or the scripture uses the word inherited. Bro, it's over. That's the good part that I'm trying to communicate to everybody listening. The fix has already been solved. The game is over. We're just waiting on you to wake up and join the party. That's the only thing we're waiting on. If more people could say, listen, this, whatever's going on right now ain't gonna happen no more. Because if it does, we have an agenda in place that we will implement if indeed you kill or murder or mistreat or whatever the parameters of the conditions may be. If you break that, then this is what we're going to do. And we do not have to throw a punch. We don't have to shoot a gun. We don't got to march. You don't have to do nothing. All you got to do, and you said some other brother had brought it up like right after we discussed it, is stop shopping at McDonald's. McDonald's is going to get out there and be on the front line because they want your support. You got to stop shopping at Walmart. We talked about that before. I said, and it wouldn't even take this long, but I said, I had put a narrative out there. I said, are you willing to give your life for your child? And a lot of people hit me back, oh, I would die for my kid. I'll jump in front of a bullet.
I got misinterpreted.
Yeah. And my whole thought was, okay, great. You're willing to die for him, or you're willing to live. When I say give up your life, what do you do every day? Where do you go? Where do you spend your money? Prior to the pandemic, we got a lot of people want to club it out. We got a lot of hair weaves, and I think they said $18 billion on hair weave.
Sports fanatics.
Yeah, you got all these. You got all of this financial resources that if we say, you know what, we love our children so much, for just 5 years, we're going to make a collective sacrifice.
We're gonna change this whole generation.
We're going to make a collective sacrifice this year. It's not going to be no Christmas, no Easter bunnies, no whatever y'all might do. If we do birthday parties, it's going to be something that don't cost money. We're all going to the park or going swimming or whatever we're going to do. And we're going to put ourselves financially in the position of a global force to be reckoned with. We touch $1.5 trillion every single year as Asiatics. We don't own anything. We've made ourselves the largest consumers on the planet. We buy everything. So with that, we have the spending power. We use that. I'm not asking you to do nothing but stop doing what you're doing. That don't cost you nothing to stop doing. We bought 2, I think 3 times the amount of Mercedes-Benz last year.
You're not selling nothing. You're telling them to stop.
Stop. And invest in your children, your child, your children. And first of all, what would happen is the businesses and corporations that have survived for hundreds of years off of the Asiatic dollar would start to crumble. We know you're gonna spend money. You can't live without spending money. So but you're spending money with somebody in your own community now. So as one thing goes down, the other thing has to inevitably go up. It would cure racism. Nelson Neal, what you mean that would cure racism? Well, what is racism? Racism is race plus power, right? So I can't be a racist if I'm not in a position to affect another group of people negatively or whatever.
You can be prejudiced. I think people kind of get it confused when they think, well, black people can't be racist. We're not saying that you can't be prejudiced to where I can't say, oh, I don't like white people because they're white people. Or I don't like Asians, and I don't like this. And
I don't like fat people.
That's prejudice.
That's prejudgment.
That has nothing to do with race. You know what I mean? I don't like people with a lot of money because they're selfish. You know what I mean? That's prejudice.
Right.
So when you talk about racism, this is a system. This is something that's put in place to cover not just one sector of the community or society.
Absolutely. So race plus power equals racism. Ism is studying and practice of. We can't practice if we don't have the power. When I'm saying once we start focusing on us, how that cures racism, because you're not going to nobody looking for a job, so they can't discriminate against you. And I use the Asian culture as an example, often because I like the way they do it, man. I honor that. You don't see, when you're driving down the street and there's the guy homeless on the corner asking for some loose change. You don't see no Asians out there.
Now, maybe in larger communities like Los Angeles, you know, where the homeless population is.
How about this? You
disproportionate.
rarely see it.
But we're talking about in smaller cities like Kansas City, where we live at, and
Right.
we don't see that.
You rarely see it. Not saying it doesn't happen. I'm saying you rarely see it. Just like you rarely see a help wanted sign in the window of a Chinese restaurant, right? You don't hardly see help wanted because they employ their own, right? And just like you don't really see a whole lot of our Mexican brothers and sisters out on the corner begging for money, because if another group of Mexicans ride by and they say, "You want some money?" And they say, "Yeah, man, I need some extra change," they're gonna say, "Get on the truck and let's go get some money."
And they have the mentality is as long as they can work, you know, they're gonna figure something out.
Right.
You know?
So who do you normally see? You see Asiatics and Europeans. And these are the two communities where the other people in the community have basically been conditioned not to care about you. Get a job, you bum.
Well,
you know how that mentality.
Even when you was talking about when we first had started the video, and you was talking about America has to fix this problem with what it's called the Negro, or what they call this black racial issue. Okay, I kind of immediately had thought that it seems like America kind of sweeps this under the rug, especially, you know, like when someone comes over your house and you know, you don't show them the worst part of your house and whatnot, and you know, you make sure you clean up and whatnot. So it's kind of like America doesn't really want to talk about that or put that on the forefront. And when they do discuss, you know, issues that involve different classes of people, they always kind of come at it from a more immigration standpoint.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I didn't know if I was going to end up putting this in there or not, but hey, good segue. That's what you're saying when you say all lives matter, right? We're gonna sweep that issue under the rug there, brother. I know what you're saying about these black lives. When we say all lives, then what we're saying is we're still not gonna talk about this. That's really what it is.
Right.
Because we are trying to avoid the inevitable.
Because when you come in at it like minorities and we're black people, so we fall under the umbrella of minorities, so we ask for rights for minorities. Okay, well, since you're under the same umbrella as these people that we call minorities, we're giving these rights to these immigrants. So when immigrants come over here, they get a tax break or they get this and they get that. So you still end up doing something that doesn't even benefit you at the end of the day, because you putting yourself in a box that doesn't really even service you. You know. Exactly.
And even immigrants who come over here from other countries are already ahead of you.
Right. So you put yourself in that same box.
And when you think about it, you can't get over here and become a citizen of the United States unless you come from somewhere. So you from Guatemala, you can come up here and you can go through the process and gain your citizenship. You come from somewhere. You just walk in there off the street talking, I don't know where I'm from. I don't have no history. I don't have nothing. I'm just black. You cannot become a citizen. You have no genealogy. You don't come from nowhere. You don't have dual citizenship.
That's basically what they've done to a class of people that you call black people. You know, they didn't come from nowhere. I mean, we got them from somewhere, but who knows, because we got them from all different kinds of places. They
can't tell you where nobody came from. So you got this many million people and you say, okay, I can tell you where my pit bull came from. Bloodline all the way back to the mother's father. But you can't tell 50 million people, did you come from West Africa, South Africa, are you Kenyan, are you Nigerian?
There's not even a country.
Nothing.
A country anywhere that says we had X amount of people that were, you know, this was our working force that, you know, at this point in time, and this is what happened at this point in time because we lost this amount of people due to this slavery. You know what I mean?
And
nowhere.
And if this is true, what nation over on the continent of Africa has even bucked and say, yo, you hit us for 8 million people. You need to pay us.
Right.
Poor as Africa is, Africa would have been asking for some cash.
We had a lot of relatives and a lot of people that, you know.
Yeah, the Nelson Nils the Nelson Nils over here in Mali, they're the same Nelson Nils that's in Kansas.
And that's not to say that
and the bloodline don't change.
That's not saying that we have no connection to the people from the continent. But what we're saying is that the story that was told was part of the proverbial box to keep the matrix going the way that it is, because you have to remove certain people, strip them of their whole history to get them to be these almost like robots.
You have to rewrite history. Then you have to place people that have been here for thousands of years as only getting here 400 years ago. You got people that have a phenotype indigenous to the geographical location that they are from. Now, you know, you might get an argument, but a lot of people will say that climate does not change melanin. That's what they're going to tell you. They're going to say that you have a phenotype that is already pre-programmed in you that comes from wherever you come from. So they can trace back where you're from, and they know that the indigenous population of the Americas predate most African cultures. When you look at the step pyramids down in Peru and Central America, they're older than the pyramids of Giza. When you look at the oldest dinosaur bones and
or your oldest mammal,
your oldest people living mammals.
There's a community out there right now that says dinosaurs is a fictionary thing. So we're gonna just keep it to mammals. You know, you got camels, you got your elephants, your
crocodiles.
I'm talking about your first forms of elephants. You know, your first forms of camels, your horses, all these animals that you think come from another side of the world actually originated on this side of the world.
Right. You know how many woolly mammoths they done found in California? They done found ancient camel bones in Kansas. So we even have to go back and just look at the whole narrative.
Oh yeah, I was just looking up something about lions.
Still got mountain lions.
Yeah, but your original
saber-tooth
cats are from this side of the world.
Absolutely. So understanding that, and conditions change, and I know that people are going to put all these kind of different variables in here. I'll just say this: if indeed the people that you call black people, so-called black people, did come from Africa, it was 10,000 years ago. It was thousands of years ago. It wasn't because a guy named Christopher Columbus got lost and then dragged 10 million people over here after he got lost. That didn't happen. You know, and it's almost ludicrous. It's funny. It's comical. It is to laugh to even think that this could happen. So you telling me you got a slave ship? It's going to take you 4 to 6 months. 6 months to get from Africa over to the Americas.
We're talking about disease.
You're talking about scurvy, disease,
urine, blood.
And you're talking about you gotta give these people water. You might can live without food for a couple of days, but you can't live without water. You got 300 people jammed up in the bottom of a boat.
They have these, I guess, these narratives to where people say that, you know, yeah, that was the case, and when people was dying, they was throwing so many slaves overboard. And like I'm saying, we're not saying none of these stories never happened, and this is why you have so many sharks that we're following and eating each other. But who, you thinking from an investment point of view, you making an investment, you have to pay for each head that's riding on this boat.
You have a manifesto.
I don't want to have to throw half of them overboard because they all got sick. So from an investment point of view, it really doesn't make sense. It's a bad investment. It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. And also, why would you want to go to another continent and find people when you got a continent full of people already? One of the most valuable resources on any plot of land are the people, the indigenous people. They're more valuable than gold or silver. They are the most valuable resource. Also, when you think about it, you're thinking you're going to take a group of Africans, bring them over to Jamestown, Virginia, where it's icy, snow, cold, rain.
You're teaching them how to grow tobacco.
you are a group of people that couldn't even survive the first winter here by yourself. And you're going to teach this group of Africans who've never been outside of this other climate or condition how to come over here and grow crops like cotton, sugar,
got
tobacco.
A language barrier as well.
There's a language barrier.
Teach them how to grow tobacco in a different climate that they never experienced.
No, you're probably going to go and try to enslave the people that are already familiar with the land, familiar with the seasons, familiar with the resources, how the water runs, how the irrigations work, that already are growing crops already. But because they keep running off and doing stuff, you can't control them. So what we'll do is we'll grab this group up here in New York and we're going to run them all the way down here to Florida. Then when we get off the boat, we're going to tell them you in a new place. And you better not say nothing about it or we're going to kill you and your children. Then we're going to take them ones down in Florida and we're going to run them up north. Now they're unfamiliar with this, and that, and now we can have a better control over people that we are oppressing.
Because part of this box is what this brother Nelson was talking about is a historical box. You know, we was put in, we got put in the historical box too. So what we think is the melting pot of America, we think that's a new concept. We think that's something that was just created with you know, George Washington and Andrew Jackson and Abraham Lincoln and these people. But the concept of the melting pot has always been on this side of the planet. You know what I mean? You've always had different nations in what you call America. You know, you had nations that look like what you call Africans. You had nations that look like what you call your prototypical Indian with the straight long hair and the feathers and you know what I mean, the long features. You had nations that were you know, what you call more Southeastern, or you know what I mean, with dark skin and long straight hair, and you know, so you had all kinds of different nations in what you call America. America always been a melting pot.
America in the past is exactly what it is today.
Right.
People from all over would come and trade, do business, barter, sell, do dealings. Think about right here where we are geographically. Got Canada up top and everything up north. Got everything down south. Why wouldn't people come to America to trade goods and trade services?
Well, it's kind of like,
this is right in the middle.
It's kind of like when you have you know, for people that delve in the streets, when you have a safe house or somewhere where you keep a lot of your goods at, or somewhere where you kind of lay low, you don't tell everybody where it's at. You know, only a certain few people might know where to go pull up and meet you at that certain spot, that certain area where you keep that on the low. So America was, this part of the world was that place. So a lot of people didn't know about America, you know what I mean? It's in the central area. You got Asia on the backside of the Pacific Ocean over here, and you hit Africa, and you got Europe over here as well. So America was there. That's why they said that's a dead part of the ocean. You go over there, you might not ever make it back because the new we don't want you over there.
This was known at one point in time as the New World. You'll hear songs called Brave New World and all that other stuff. This has geographically been here as long as any other place on the planet.
So it's not the new world.
So it's not a new world. It was an undiscovered world. And the reason why it was undiscovered is not because nobody knew about it. It was undiscovered because those who controlled the narrative didn't have very much information in regard to America, or they wasn't letting it out because it wasn't European dominated. So America's always been the melting pot, and it still is. It still is. I think that Europe was kind of last to the party, and they got here and they said, "Man, look at all this."
That's why it's new.
Yeah, that's why it's new, right? And they seen it, and you know, I heard a comedian or whatever, and he was talking about Europeans. He was European, and he said, you know, they came over here and was like, "Man, this is a really nice area right here. Who owns this?" And the people that was at, nobody owns that. That's God's country. God owns that. Oh, okay, that's ours. You know, what's about this right here?
I'm show you who God is, so I can claim
it
too.
Right. And then start claiming everything, and then took it over. But you know, as I think about it, you know, we have to. We're waking up now. That way, you know, we can at least understand that we're in a bigger diaspora of global mental warfare, so to speak. Like somebody is really banging hard for the minds and hearts of the masses, of the collective. And so when you understand that whoever controls that, it's more control than money, more control than religion, more control. If you can control somebody's mind, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Think about, you know, superheroes, and you say, okay, out of all the X-Men on the, you know, out of everybody, Wolverine, everybody, the guy that's sitting there the weakest, in the wheelchair, can't move.
Xavier.
He's the hardest. He's the
teacher
and
the master.
His power is mind control. That's his superpower. And if he can control the mind, he understands and I control the talent of the whatever,
right?
Of the mutant. If I could control the mind, then I can control the dunk. I can control the punch. I can control the touchdown. I can control the home run. Right. They're gonna keep hitting them, keep dunking it, keep running it, keep throwing it, as long as I control the mind.
And that's the whole Wizard of Oz concept, the man behind the curtain. You know what I mean? The man behind the curtain, he doesn't want you to see who he really is. He's just portraying this image, and he has this false thing going on that you think
he's the wizard.
All these different things chasing after you, but at the end of the day, you was always at home. You know, you was always where you needed to be, and you always had what you needed to have. Just like the scarecrow looked for the brain, he always had a brain. He thought all the way down the yellow brick road.
Yeah.
You know, but he just didn't realize it within himself.
That's right, and that's what we have to realize, that whole Wizard of Oz analogy, you know, it almost parallels our total story. You know, here it is. We are, you know, stronger, bigger, faster than the wizard.
Dreaming though, you've been asleep.
You know, I have you know, it's not even a question. Nothing. It's like a statement that I pose to our young people and just to us in general. It's like, if we can, I was watching like the thing on documentary on Usain Bolt, and he's racing against Yusufa Powell and you know, all these other super fast individuals. It's not one European on the track. Not one. Out of the 8 lanes or what have you. Watching, you know, basketball games. Man, ain't no Europeans out here. Maybe one, you know.
You got some great players from Europe,
but we exalt the one that can just be average us, not killing us. I mean, there's no European
somebody that can play up the standard.
Not a European version of Michael Jordan. I mean, dominate the game. There's no European that made them change the game like Wilt Chamberlain, right? There's some Europeans that played with great players, but you didn't never change the game. So my thought, my question, my statement to us is, you see it play out physically. The difference is there, obviously. If we are more advanced or advanced beyond in sports, imagine how your mind works. Imagine how your thinking should work.
That's a European concept as well, that physical prowess has nothing to do with mental fortification, which is a total lie, because the mere fact that you can have the mental concept to go up and do a reverse layup like Michael Jordan or whatever the case may be in your field of sport, you first have to be able to understand this concept mentally, as a Patrick Mahomes. You got to be able to even see yourself doing this before you even go out and do it. So you also have to have a chamber within your mind that you can go to that other people can't even go to.
And get into.
You know what I mean?
My thing is this. This is why I want us to know how great we are. The body reacts according to what the mind says. Almost this is an avatar or a robot being controlled by your thoughts, right? So if I tell my body to stand up, stand up. I tell it to sit down, it'll sit down. It has to listen. No matter what I tell it, this vehicle has to do what I say. If I tell it to jump from the free throw line and dunk a ball,
and it reacts and does it.
And it does it.
What
how come my mind, why does my mind tell me I can do that, but your mind is not allowing you to do that?
Well, you might think you can do it.
You might think
and you get up there and attempt to do it. But deep down, somewhere in here, you know you got no business even trying it.
Well,
and that's why you're not even going to that's why you're going to try it.
Right.
But you know that you're just trying.
Now, why are you trying it though? Because you see me doing it? That's why you're trying it.
There's a difference between trying to do something and actually doing it as well. Also, even putting that in your mind, because when I go up for a dunk and I say, look, I'm about to try, I haven't done it maybe since 1999 or 98, kinda, even when I did it then, but I'm about to try. Right. It's a difference between my mind saying that and then a Sean Kemp or a Blake Griffin or a Michael Jordan, Dominique Wilkins going up. They're not thinking, okay, I'm about to try to see if I can pull this off.
Done already.
Boom, I got him.
And then
you know what I mean?
So for the naysayers saying, well, that ain't Michael Jordan 6'6", and so and so this, and 6'6". That's easy for them. It's not a far stretch of the imagination. But what tells Spud Webb he can dunk? Who tells the 5'5" guy, the 5'10" dudes? And I've seen plenty. I've seen plenty of 5'8"ers go up,
and get it done,
and handle business in the game. And so it's like it's something else that informs this, but it's geniusness. The 360 dunk, the tomahawk, and that's genius. You can't tell your body to do it.
And we're talking bigger realms than just sports, because we're not all athletes. You know, at best, I'm a weekend warrior. But what we're saying is, when you have the concept in your mind that, look, I'm not only going to try to go out and get this thing accomplished, I'm not going to try to go ahead and do this. No, just like how he was talking about Michael Jordan, Spud Webb, Dominique. No, we're just going to go ahead and do it. We're not going to try to do anything. What we set our mind to do, we're going to do it. And when you open up that chamber within your mind, you can get all things accomplished.
Man, I was listening to Dr. Umar Johnson, and he said something that struck me pretty profoundly. He said that the inventions that were made while we were here in the Americas surpass the inventions that were made in Africa. And he said, because here you got brothers coming up with stuff out of nowhere.
The conditions.
I'm talking about, you can't read, you can't write, you don't know who your mama is, you don't know your daddy, you don't know nothing, but you inventing stuff. You coming up with, I mean, let's be honest. Let's just be honest with each other. They say Edison invented the light bulb. Yet there was a brother named Louis Latimer that wrote the patent for it and put the filament in the light bulb. But you don't hear about Louis Latimer as the inventor. They said that Edison was a man of 1,000 patents or whatever. Well, 99% of them were stolen. Who is inventing the cotton gin? Who is inventing peanut butter? Who is inventing mass production?
Not only peanut butter, but
toilet bowl.
Other different products.
So many different things. You got these group of people that come from nothing, with nothing, but invent most of the modern day conveniences that we utilize today. The lawnmower, everything. Except for somebody else, the heart transfusion, stoplight, toilet bowl, potato chips, peanut butter. I mean, the list can go on. Not getting paid 1 cent. You disconnect yourself from that, you're going to be in trouble. That's all I'll say. You disconnect yourself from that, you'll be in trouble. The thing that we have to do, and I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Right? So I'll sum it up with saying this. America is going to perish if she does not address and fix her racial problems, white supremacy problems, the box itself that different classes, what I'll call black, red, yellow, and green, or blue, or whatever these color code is coming apart at the seams. And if we do not recognize what's taking place, we'll be speaking another language, and that's crazy, and it's real too. So
I want to ask you one question before you leave, and hopefully you can wrap this up and summarize it as quickly as possible. And I know we can't really wrap this person's whole world up in just a few sentences, but try to give the people, you know, a summary as much as you can with as much meat on the bone as possible, because people see you come here and they see you drop this knowledge. And I love Morris Brothers because they're great, excellent researchers. You know what I mean? Whenever you see a brother with the feds on his head like that, he's a great researcher. The brother's going to also give you where you can go and find where he found what he knows. He's not just going to say something that he thinks he knows. He's going to give you the tools of where you can go out and find the resources to get to where he knows what he knows. So one question I do want to ask, and try to tell the people, who was Noble Drew Ali? You know, as quickly as you can, you know what I mean, as much as you can. Who was the good brother Noble Drew Ali? What did he do? And why is he so important? And like you said on the last video, if you don't know who he is, why? Why don't you know? We got things like Google, YouTube, Facebook, whatnot. You can look up anything you basically want to know. So try to let the people know, you know, who was this brother Noble Drew Ali?
Great question. First of all, Noble Drew Ali was born Timothy Drew in the state of North Carolina in 1886. And he was the first individual who made it possible for anybody in the continental United States of America to practice Islam, for one. So this is prior to Nation of Islam, prior to Farad Muhammad, Elijah Muhammad, all that stuff. Prophet Noble Drew Ali was in front of it.
He introduced Islam, reintroduced Islam to the West.
He did. At one point in time, if you were in America, you weren't practicing almost like standard Christianity. You know, they might call you a witch or something, burn you at the stake, call you a witch or warlock, ostracize you. You know, you pretty much had to be a Christian. And so he established it to where you can practice your faith, whatever it is, not just Islam. You know, you might, you know, start your own religion one day. You know, he made it possible so you could practice unmolested here in the on the rocky shores of North America. But even more so than that, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and he's recognized as a prophet by the Moore Science Temple of America Incorporated, which I am a member of, Temple 65 in Kansas City, Kansas. He was the first man, and I almost want you to think about it. I think this is why he's held in such high regard. You're talking about a brother that comes on the scene basically right after slavery. I mean, brothers still got cotton in their hands, right?
Some people are still under this oppression.
Right. And he told them, he said, man, you're not black. You are a man, you are from a nation, you have a genealogy. He came through talking about nationality, citizenship, being a part and parcel of the government, being recognized by other nations on the earth. Now, this is at a time when brothers could not, I don't even think, process, what their name looked like on a piece of paper. You know, didn't have a last name, didn't know. And so he comes along, you just think, how does this person in the 1800s have all of this information? He shows up with the Quran, he shows up with the laws, he shows up with the questionnaire, and he ends up basically establishing who the slaves were prior to colonization. I guess the best way to say it, he is the individual that reconnected the slaves or descendants thereof back to the human family. So we always say there's only one race, that's the human race. We're all part of it. There may be different nations that make up the human family, but we're all part of the human family. Well, when you get to talking about black and colored and Negro, these are not associated with the human family. So he reconnected us back into the human family, gave us an identity, gave us a nationality, retied us back to our old time religion, which is Islamism, not Islam as in what you think of when you think of the brothers in the Middle East with the long beards and stuff. This is Islamism. The ism means the study and practice of peace. This is not a man-made religion. This is something that existed prior to anybody tampering with it, right? I always say that we know that peace came first, right? Because peace was always here. Like right now, if you and I go out in the street and start making a bunch of noise, the police might show up and give us a citation for disturbing the peace, because the peace was here prior, right? So we're recognizing how things was prior to the distorted illusions of the world that you see today, and understand who we are, understand that we are the original people of the planet. And what I mean by that is when we start to go back and you look at genealogies and timelines and so on and so forth, and say we go over to the Chinese or something. Well, recently there was a report that came out. They found out that the mitochondrial DNA inside of the Chinese gene finds its origins in Africa, or through the Asiatic. So the Asiatic woman, or who you might call the so-called black woman, she has what's called an E gene. She has a gene inside of her body that can produce any nation on this earth,
right? From
light skin to white to high yellow to very dark. To she's the only thing that can do this. And so when you go back and you say, okay, who's her father? Who's his father? And there's nobody there. Then you have to say, okay, well, these just got to be the people of God, because there's nobody else that supersedes them. So, for example, if you take, and I hope I'm not getting too far, you just got to look up Prophet Noah. Yeah, he's an amazing individual who at a time seen things that are relevant today.
The reason why I asked the question, because he's not a cult leader. He wasn't trying to get people under any kind of yoke or anything like that. He's more like giving them the keys to their own freedom, and he's letting people know who they really are, and kind of re-identifying them with their own nature of nationality. So when he came, he kind of was getting people out of this box that was created at this point in time. And that's why I asked the question, because this is the same thing that this good brother's doing right now, is proverbially getting people out of this box and giving the people the information and the tools they need to get them out of this form of oppression, which is all, you have to mentally take part in it for it to work, so it's kind of like, if you don't believe in it, it's not going to work. So we believe in this false system, we believe in this false identity, we believe in this false oppressor, so of course it's going to work, because we playing our part being rightful subjects. So
that's right.
I want to thank this brother once again for coming and being part of Peaceful Vibes, and we're going to rock out one time. So anything else you want to say, Nelson? Let everybody know where they can get a hold of you on social media, some of your social media platforms, and whatnot, to get up out of here.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate the opportunity. If you like some of the stuff that we discuss, or you anything that I said caught you in a way that sparked your attention, you can find me online on all the social media, Nelson Ill. I think on Instagram it's I am Nelson Ill, YouTube I am Nelson Ill, and then just Nelson Ill on Facebook. But I got a book out called The Introduction to the Truth of Life. You can get that on Amazon. So Nelson Ill, The Introduction to the Truth of Life. Got some music in the market right now. I got a mixtape out called Black Jesus, and I'm spelling black as an acronym, BLAKC, and it stands for Bringing Love and Kinetic Consciousness. We had a conversation on black before,
right.
So I know a lot of the Moors, they're like, "Mo, don't push that," because that's pushing that narrative.
Right.
But like we talked about, man,
he's redefining. He's redefining his own.
It's like I told you before, we have to stand up where we fell down, and we fell down. That's the box we fell in. So to come out of the box, the first thing you have to do is you have to redefine who you are, period, off top. And so if I can't get people to stop calling themselves that, and at least I'm gonna make them think about it, in a way that is gonna, I hope, open up the door to more thought in regard to
different than the current definition of it as well.
Yeah, we got the power to define. Yeah, as an artist, I got the power to define. Same way 40 could say whatever, and it means something, and it stick and hold and have relevance. That's the way that we can redefine too. Every word in rap music is a redefining of another word. Back in the day, Run DMC said, "Nah, bad meaning bad, but bad meaning good." Right. So just redefining everything. whatever it is, you know, that's taking the power back. Saying, nah, that don't mean that no more. I'm fresh.
Right.
You know, you used to thought fruit was fresh, you know, which meant it was edible or something, you know, but nah, I'm dope, I'm funky, I'm whatever. We have the ability to do that. So we got to do that with black, because as it stands now, it ain't nothing but negative connotations and associations that surround that whole word.
Right.
And nobody associates black with bringing love, for sure, and kinetic consciousness. So it's just ripping out that old way of thinking. It's almost like we're gonna reprogram you, but we really don't got a lot of time. So what I'm doing, I'm just pulling the plug.
Right.
You know, we could shut this thing down real slow and, you know, make sure that we, you know, but no, we're just gonna pull the plug, because the whole thing is messed up. And if it crashes the system, it crashes the system. We're getting ready to rewrite the program anyway.
Destroy and rebuild.
Yeah, we're gonna rewrite the program anyway. So yeah, get out there, check out the music. Nelson Neal, I got a project coming out called Drew Ali, American Prophet. So you'll be able to see, you'll be able to hear that, you know, in the music. And you know, I trust we'll meet again.
All
We're
right.
gonna be back, baby.
Yes, sir. All right.
Peace.